So welcome to the Mobile CSP Hangout for May 18th. So we can start as usual with some introductions. So I'm Pauline, the Mobile CSP teaching consultant. Right now I'm just finishing up my last visits of the school year with many of you. And I'm officially done now teaching the Mobile CSP course at Trinity. In the last Hangout we talked about how we had the final presentation. So that is finally over. And just working on finishing up final visits and getting the last pieces of data that we need from everyone. Jim, you want to go next?
Yeah, Jim Vasaskis, HMTCA. I'll talk to you about the data privately, Pauline. We had a little bit of a paperwork snafu. So, started the project today, and hopefully the kids will take some time and have time to study for the final. End of a crazy year, so there hasn't been SBAC testing. They actually took my computers away for 2 weeks, so kind of hurt. So we're probably going to have to cut out cryptography and on that part of the final, because I'm not going to be able to probably cover that in time. That's it.
Thank you, Jim. Laura, you want to go next?
Yep. Excuse me. Laura Grover, Kobe Cathedral High School. We finished the lessons. My seniors graduate. Their last day is actually Wednesday, and they take their regular finals Thursday and Friday. So they're finishing up now their final project and doing the write-ups and trying to get the QR codes to work this time. And I don't know. MIT was having problems and trying to get the APKs downloaded, but we're working on it. We got a couple of days to figure all that out. That's where we are, finishing up.
Excellent. Melissa, you want to go next?
Sure. Melissa Farrington, Simsbury High School. We are in the last unit. We worked on my directions today, and we're doing SBAC this week and next week. So Jim, I feel your pain. And Broadcast Hub coming up, and I've already done all the theory for this unit because I did the pilot AP exam. My students took that, so I covered the material without doing the last two apps, and so now we're just finishing those up, and we should be taking the exam next week.
Thank you, Melissa. Betsy, you want to go next?
Hey, I'm the half-year course, so I don't get as far. We finished all the App Inventor for Unit 5, and we started the Create projects on Friday. So we should have another Create project, or the second Create project for the Trinity competition, which is cool. And then I'll go back and finish up the rest of the non-App Inventor parts of Unit 5 and prep for the final and, the Impact project. So I've got plenty of time to do it. That's what I'm doing. What I like is my kids are going into Unit 6 and Unit 7 to get ideas for their projects. So that's cool.
Thank you, Betsy. And Chinma, you go next?
Hello, everyone. Chinma Uche from the Greater Hartford Academy of Math and Science. My students haven't done much in the last few weeks. We tried to get them to prepare their performance task formatted for the college board, and I didn't have much success. Of all my students, only 2 students had their collaborative project ready. The other groups didn't. I didn't know what that means. So I've written to their parents. I don't know what more I can do, but I'll see how it plays out. I've told them now they should be ready to get a 0. However, I think they will submit it before the end of the year, so it's a problem. I had a similar problem last year, but with only girls. This year I have only boys. So I said, I thought I was having a different class with the boys. They said, no, it's just that we are all lazy, whether we're male or female. So I don't know. So I would like to know what experiences you're having with your performance tasks. I know some of you have more able students, but formatting the performance task as PDFs. Maybe Melissa, you would be, because you're submitting to the college board.
Do what?
Are you submitting performance tasks to the college board?
No, all we did was the pilot test,
Okay.
the multiple choice pilot test.
Okay.
Even my special ed kids are doing the projects. And they're doing a good job. So, you know, I think it's whether or not they feel confident in themselves at that point. And sometimes it's just who they're hanging around to, you know.
What level of help do you give them?
Not a lot. Honestly, I mean, if you saw me during the challenge for the Science Center, I spent a lot of time walking away from my kids and kind of acting more like a bee, periodically buzzing around and then running away because I didn't want to stick my hands in too much. The kids like to make it their own.
Yeah, my experience was they were happy to choose a topic, but they weren't happy to write it up the way I wanted it done. But that's fine. It's okay.
I make my kids write everything up, so the final projects aren't any big deal.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to do like the college board. I read the college board today with the class, and they're not going to do the individual project. They're just going to do the group project part of it this year. Next year, we'll shoot for both the individual project and the group project, just so prepare for 2016.
My students, the only ones who submitted, the only ones they did, I thought, because they liked doing app inventor projects, I thought they would be able to cope with their create projects easily. So I focused on the explore, do explore. Then create they didn't do. So most of them submitted explore, but they did submit create, but that's fine.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm going to have, like, I had one class that's all seniors. They got senioritis, so I'm not expecting much. I got my sophomore and junior class that are concerned about grades, so I'm expecting a little bit more from them.
Yeah, I think that's part of my problem. My students are mainly special needs, and they're mainly seniors. So that's a combination of that doesn't work. But that's fine.
Yeah, it's deadly. Senioritis seems to be deadly this year. So
No, I agree. I don't have a lot of seniors, so I think I benefited from that. My seniors tend to take my higher level computer science courses. I have a couple, and they are suffering severely. I have S back this week as well, Melissa, and next week. I feel your pain. They're not taking my lab. They do it in the morning and then they give the lab back to me. So I just get shorter days.
Yeah, we're doing SPAC this week, so that's fine.
actually, I'm actually finding in my lower level class, I'm getting better projects than the mobile CSP class. Believe it or not, I got some really good games.
But you have younger people there.
Well, because it's not so much intensive with all the background stuff. It's really just app inventor and make the project. So I'm actually getting a lot better stuff from them than some of my older kids because they're not as overwhelmed.
I am able to cope more with it this year than last year. Last year I put in so much effort, writing to parents, doing so many things. and it didn't work. So this year, I wasn't expecting it, but I accepted.
Okay, so I think this is a good chance to start talking about what are some ideas that your students have come up with and what are they currently working on for the final CREATE project. So the CREATE #2 performance task. What have they been working on? Are there any challenges that you've seen that have come up so far? And I'm hoping this will segue into our next topic of talking about the App Inventor Gallery and having a gallery now available to us. So if anybody wants to share, what are your students working on for their projects? Are you seeing any challenges that they're being faced with?
Just started, so I can't really tell you in that class.
This is the second day for mine. I think the one that I like the best is a kid doing kind of like an agenda that has an alarm clock in it. So it tells you what's due this week and what's due tomorrow, which is kind of cool. And I had a couple kids work with time pickers, which were relatively new to me. No, they were totally new to me. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And then the one girl that wanted to do the thing for like a first aid kit, and she's expanding on that. Those are two of the interesting ones. It's a number of other ones that sound interesting, but grocery list, that's a kind of a common thing. But it's going to be fun to see how they do it.
Well, I got a kid who's in my other class. He's a senior, but he didn't get put in the mobile CSP. He made a game where you have these lines going across the screen, and you got to touch it at the exact same time it reaches another line, and they all go at different speeds, and you get different scores and stuff, and it's pretty cool and has a good timing factor to it. But unfortunately, tried to get him to come to the fair, but hey, it's senior field day that day or whatever it is. Not coming.
I have one group of students doing a pinball machine, which was really cool, putting like the sprites on and keeping score every time it hit a sprite, and they tried to do like flippers. So that was pretty good. I had another pair of students who they're having a little trouble now. I'm not sure what, they keep getting an error message, but they had an animated picture. They were doing like a quiz show, and they had trouble getting it to animate. So Pauline, when you had sent me that article, they read it, they looked at the videos, they figured it out. So that was good. And I said they're getting some kind of error message now, and everybody was pulling me every which way today. Excuse me. So tomorrow I got to figure out what their bug is. At one point I told them they were past the end of their list, so they're supposed to be looking at what they're adding, and it told them another error message they had gotten that something was set to false, and they're not setting anything to false. So I'm not sure why they got that error message. But like I said, I really couldn't spend too much time with them today because everybody else needs help. So I'm hoping tomorrow to touch base with them and see if they figured anything out. But those were the two most interesting ones I thought that my class came up with.
Well, the last thing I'm doing before I have to go, because I'm getting back in to take care of the children, is I'm challenging my kids, saying, "Hey, for your app project this year, think of something that's socially useful, so we can enter it into not the Verizon, but the House of Representatives app challenge next year. We can expand on it." So some of them are stepping up to that, and my sophomores and juniors, seniors, that's not going to work for, but. So that's the other thing I'm doing. And as you can see, I got my hands full, so I'm going to have to go at this time. Bye, everybody.
Bye, Jim.
Bye, Jim. Bye to your better half.
Hello, Jim, before you go, I think, Pauline, we're going to have that meeting on Monday.
Yeah.
June 8th. Let's keep to our original time since there isn't much more this thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel, because, I'll switch my vote to the Monday to make it 13-12. Just because with the Science Center, it just seems I rather use them for things like the hackathon and promoting with the kids and getting that stuff out than a meeting for 2 hours. And when I first brought it up to the Science Center, it was like, well, logistics and this and that and blah, blah, blah. So they didn't really seem 100% interested in doing it. So I feel that we should just use them for, what we really need, the important stuff with the kids and stuff, and promoting it instead of things like just meetings. So
yeah, Jim, I agree. I think you're right.
Just that.
Yeah, that's what I think too. I think that since if we were having a full day workshop, then that would be a good place.
Yes.
So when you have a break, people can go up and look around. But if we're just going for 2 hours, sit in the room and leave after 2 hours, it doesn't make sense to bother them and go through the process of getting permissions and other things.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll hold it in my school.
All right. I like that.
Okay.
I don't have to walk one building over.
Yeah, so let's just hold it in my school. So we won't have to bother them. We may need them later in the year, then we'll use them for something good.
Okay. All right, well, I gotta go.
Thank you. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you very much.
Yeah, bye. Have a good night.
Bye.
How do you get out of this?
All right, Pauline, I have to go in a minute too. Anything else?
So I wanted to briefly talk about this idea that there's the new App Inventor gallery that's been released. I want to make sure that if you have not seen the updates and know that it's there, that you, as of right now, know that there is a gallery available. Okay? So if you haven't seen it, what it means is that when you publish the app to the gallery, so if you're looking at the App Inventor projects page, you can hit Publish to Gallery. What it means is that students can go through and they can look for an app, and then they can actually open the app in their App Inventor as if it's their own.
Cool.
So I wanted to talk a little bit, if you can say a little bit about what do you think the advantages are of this, and what do you think the disadvantages are of this? So I'm not sure if you had known it was there, but it is there now, and I wanted to make sure you're aware and to kind of hear your thoughts. If this is your first time hearing about it, what do you think the advantages and disadvantages might be?
Well, I think the disadvantage might be that students are going to be more apt to just copy things that are there than to try to come up with their own ideas.
So you just have to be aware of what's there.
I don't think it's possible for you to be aware of everything there. So I think that's, for me, how I will use it if a kid is looking for ideas or something. It has to be something they can do, they can understand. If I'm looking for a code that does a particular thing and there's one in the gallery, I can refer to, that's when I've designed my project and I'm implementing it, then I can refer to it. But you can get ideas and modify, but however, the weak kids are not likely to modify. They are likely to copy. So it has to be dependent on the kid. So you look at the kid and you're sure of what they're going to use it for.
There are a lot of kids that it's really easy to tell when the level of code goes so substantially beyond. And my bottom line is, can you explain it? Because if you can break it down line for line, then you know the code pretty well. And if you're lazy and you can't explain it, it's pretty darn obvious. If you wrote it, you can explain it.
Are you sitting with each kid to explain every line of code?
My kids have to write up every interactive block and procedure. So they have to write it. They also have to present it. And I sit with each kid when they present it, and they do a 10-minute code walkthrough. So I generally get a pretty good idea of the code.
How many kids do you have?
I have one class of 19, and I have one class of 14 this semester.
Okay.
So
if they How is your grouping? Are they in pairs or in threes? So if
I put them in pairs. I put them in pairs, and when they write their create projects, they really don't ask me for a lot of help most of the time. So I can kind of float around the classroom and get an idea of whether or not they're actually working on the code or it just kind of magically appears.
Yeah, I believe we can know when they are copying and when they are not. But for kids, I don't know. Okay, I'll leave it to individuals.
All right, I have to go. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Melissa.
So see you on Monday the 8th.
Yes, I'll be there.
Okay.
Pauline, I've got to finish your review. I did talk, and I don't think I'm going to be able to do it.
Okay.
My little sister has 2 books she has to get out by the end of the summer,
Okay.
and it involves me being up there.
Okay.
My mom's at hospice at home, guys, so I've got my fun stuff during the summer.
Okay.
Sucks. Next year. Okay.
All
bye.
right. Thanks.
Oh, is Betsy living?
Yeah.
Okay.
So really that was it, and I just, if there's nobody that has any specific questions, I just want to make sure everybody knew about the gallery. My personal opinion is that it's good for ideas and can even be helpful in the learning process. But I wish Ralph was here to kind of talk on this, but we're in agreement that we think there needs to be some standard or general rules for how to document what you have used or referenced. Like if you found a piece of code somewhere and you want to use it, that you need to come up with some type of standard way of saying this is where I got it from, this is how I used it, and just sort of like you would in a paper when you cite in a paper. So we thought that was something that would be good to have. So I don't know if you agree or not, but it was something that came up just with this idea of this gallery being there now and the students being tempted to use it to their advantage. And we just want to make sure that they do it correctly.
Are we going to give them a sample of how to reference it?
So Ralph and I were talking with trying to come up with something, right? Because we don't have anything yet, right? To try to come up with something that we could use as a sample.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I think that's right. To at least have it some kind of way to cite it or reference it, like you said, like the cited or the footnotes for papers.
Okay, so I will talk with Ralph a little bit more about that and see what we can do. And if nobody else has any questions, nobody else is joining. I haven't gotten any email, so I'm calling tonight.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. We'll see you on the 8th.
Okay. Are you coming to our meeting on the 8th?
I think so. I looked at my calendar. I don't have anything on my calendar, so I think I'm going to be there.
That would be
Just need
nice.
Directions.
Yeah, we'll send things later. We
Okay.
were only concerned because we thought we were going to the science center, so we wanted to secure the place. But if we're not going back there, then we can send everything at our own time scale.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. We'll send an email this night to tell people we're not going there so they know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, good night.
Good
Night.
Okay, Pauline, I'll send you that draft.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
Night.